Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at something you probably walked past every single day without giving it a second thought. But instead of looking at the everyday local neighborhood grocery store as just some, mundane little shop, I really want you to start looking at it through the lens of a serious investor. We're going to completely reframe the traditional Kiryana store. Think of it as a robust, high-yield asset class that honestly holds incredible potential for steady, reliable cash flow.
Okay, let's dive into this. Did you know that this unassuming little shop on the corner literally has the potential to generate a monthly profit of up to 200,000 rupees? Yeah, no joke. And the absolute best part? Securing these kinds of returns, it doesn't require a fancy specialized business degree, you don't need a massive corporate office, and there are zero complex financial derivatives involved. It just requires pure execution.
So, think of this explainer as basically an executive pitch deck. Here's our agenda. We're going to cover the grocery store asset, supply chain mechanics, and capital investment requirements. Then we'll look at margins and financial returns, assess the risks, and finally wrap up with launching your investment. All right, Section 1, the grocery store asset, a recession-proof foundation. Now, as an investor, you're obviously always looking for downside protection, right? Well, because people consume daily essentials like rations, cleaning supplies, literally every single day, this is an asset with incredible built-in downside protection. It practically never goes out of demand, and we essentially have two tiers of investment available here to capture that demand. On the left, we've got the small neighborhood store. This is your classic over-the-counter model that's been the absolute backbone of local retail for a century. Then, on the right, you have the medium-scale mini-mart. This is a larger self-service model. It requires a bit more square footage, sure, and a little more operational sophistication, but it naturally scales up your potential revenue. Both fall under the exact same fundamental asset category, just with different levels of capital deployment.
Moving on to Section 2, supply chain mechanics, how the arbitrage works.
So to really understand the yield here, we actually have to understand how the physical product moves. At its core, this entire business is essentially a masterclass in simple wholesale to retail arbitrage. Basically, you buy goods at a lower bulk price from wholesale markets or direct company distributors, and then you sell them to the end consumer at a standard retail price. That spread, that's your profit margin. Now, the supply chain is kind of split. Some items, like cigarettes and soft drinks, are highly optimized. They're delivered directly to your door by company distributors. Other items, specifically daily perishables like, say, dairy and bread, those require active everyday ordering and management.
Which brings us to Section 3, Capital Investment Requirements, or CapEx. Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is
exactly how the costs break down methodically for a small-scale operation. Let's look at the numbers. First up, your shop rent or security deposit is going to run you somewhere between 50,000 to 150,000 rupees. That is highly dependent on your local foot traffic, of course. Next, acquiring your initial inventory stock. That takes the largest chunk, usually about 100,000 to 300,000 rupees. Finally, your physical infrastructure. Things like shelving, a checkout counter, maybe a commercial fridge. That'll add another 50,000 to 100,000. So your total estimated capital expenditure just to open the doors ranges comfortably between 200,000 and 500,000 rupees.
But hey, what if you want to scale up? If you're looking to deploy a bit more capital, 2.5 million rupees pretty much represents the upper ceiling for a medium-scale mini-mart investment. Of course, at this larger scale, your monthly fixed operating expenses, your OPEX, will definitely increase. You're going to be dealing with higher electricity bills because, well, you've got multiple freezers running. You'll have higher base rent, and you'll almost certainly need to factor in salaries for hired helpers. But the underlying mechanics, they remain exactly the same.
All right, Section 4, margins and financial returns, the yield.
This is the fun part, where we see exactly how that initial capital deployment turns into actual monthly cash flow. And this brilliantly illustrates the real secret engine of the grocery business, the blended margin. See, you aren't making the same profit on every single item. Your daily essentials, stuff like flour, rice, cooking oil, these are notoriously low-margin items. They're only yielding about 5 to 8%. They don't make you rich, but they guarantee that daily foot traffic. Average groceries sit somewhere between 8 and 15%. But the real profit drivers, those are your high-margin items. Snacks, soft drinks, cosmetics, these can yield up to a massive 20 to 30%. By blending these all together, a well-managed store creates a highly profitable ecosystem.
Let's actually slow down for a second and just show the math on how this blended margin truly scales up. Imagine a well-located small store doing daily sales of around 15,000 to 20,000 rupees. if we take a super conservative blended average margin of just 10% across all those items, you're generating a pure daily profit of 1,500 to 2,000 rupees. Multiply that out for the month, and you're looking at a completely reliable monthly profit of 45,000 to 60,000 rupees. On an initial investment of, say, 500,000 rupees, that is an absolutely stellar return on capital. And remember, those larger mini-marts we talked about, they can clear well over 200,000 rupees monthly.
Section 5. Assessing the risks. Protecting your capital.
Look, no investment pitch is complete without a rigorous, honest look at the downside, right? What could actually threaten those returns? Well, we have a few rapid-fire operational risks to manage here. First, local competition is fierce. There are literally stores on every street. Second, and guys, this is a massive trap, udar, or giving informal credit to locals. It will absolutely kill your cash flow. If people don't pay you back, your working capital just vanishes overnight. Third, you've got expiry and spoilage of perishable items to watch out for. Fourth, a very specific infrastructural risk, load shedding. Power outages can cause expensive refrigerated inventory to spoil incredibly quickly. And finally, inventory shrinkage, which is really just a polite corporate term for theft.
Moving to Section 6, launching your investment, execution strategy. So, if you've looked at the yields and you've assessed the risks, how do you actually go about deploying your capital into this asset class successfully? It really comes down to 4 strategic steps. Number 1, survey the location ruthlessly. I mean it. You need high footfall areas. Think dense residential zones or spots right next to schools. Location absolutely dictates revenue here. 2, secure reliable, fair-priced wholesalers. 3, set up your physical space. And initially, you really want to over-index on stocking fast-moving essentials. That gets the cash flowing immediately. And 4, this is crucial for modernizing this old-school asset, integrate digital payments. I'm talking Easy Payza or Jazz Cash. This not only speeds up your transactions, but it crucially helps you avoid that dangerous udar credit trap we just talked about. Good customer dealing, basic math, and tight inventory management, those are your real keys to success.
So, what does this all mean? The crucial point is simply this. The Kiryana Store model is a business that can be started with relatively low capital, yet it provides incredibly consistent, stable cash flow. It's really an ideal vehicle for anyone who wants to run a profitable business without taking on those massive, speculative risks you find in other sectors. Which leaves us with one final question for you to consider. Is a recession-proof, cash-generating business the missing piece in your investment portfolio? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.